Hey there guys, DMO73 here, bringing you a feature match for the week, today on my birthday. So I am playing a black-white Faria 2.0 Knights list. I call it Greyguard Knights, which is kind of a D&D thing, and it's kind of like knights who are willing to do kind of whatever it takes to win, but still, follow the order. So Greyguard, so black-white, demons and angels kind of thing. And I'm playing against Matthew Blumenfield, who is playing a red, black, blue Melgis Stealth Burn. Very, very cool list that I saw at Locals last week. Is a very interesting take on stealth, and I haven't done stealth on the channel yet, and so I thought you guys might want to check it out. So he's obviously going to be on the play. He plays that Hearthcore. Doesn't have a first turn play, which goes well, which is good for me. So I play out a Apollo and get my life profiteering priest out there just to be able to start the life gain next turn. So he calls that second stone. Now comes a scorched bales, so now he's got access to double reds. He's going to be able to do some burning stuff. So first comes out the Percival, which will trigger life profiteering priest, and I'll get 200 life, so up to 4,200. Reveal a Gawain, a Lucifer, double life profiteering priest, and a temple monk, so obviously I'm grabbing Gawain. And then we see a temple monk come out, so that's actually going to trigger as well as life profiteering priest, so that's going to give me another 600 life, so up to 4,800. So just like that, pretty big life point gain. And then I attempt to swing in, and he's going to take the 200 damage from that, going down to 38, and then he's going to attempt to burn my he's going to attempt to burn and kill my Percival with that remnant burn spell. So going into his turn, he plays the field spell that helps, or field edition, that helps to pump up all of his burn spells, which is pretty awesome for him. So now things are going to be much more effective. Play Life Profiteering Priest, gain another 200 life. Play another Percival, gaining 400 life, because both the Life Profiteerings will trigger. Revealing Levitine, Temple Monk, Bow, Alice, and another Percival. I'm going to go ahead and grab the other Percival. Probably should have grabbed the Bow there, knowing that it's a stealth deck, but I decided to grab another Percival to get more creatures on board and to get more life gain. Being able to hit the bow would have been much better, because if he plays his standby spell to try to mess with me, I could have just as easily just immediately killed it. But I do grab the Excalibur there, which is pretty nice, and then swing it for 200, and then another 200, so that'll take him down to 34. Going into his turn, looks like he drew to a Melder there, gets a fourth stone. Still doesn't have much darkness sources, which is probably pretty good for me. But he just plays and just annihilates my board with a Beat of the Phoenix Wings. I'm going to banish one Percival to protect the other Percival, and in response he's just going to spend the rest of his Will to Space-Time Anomaly it. So he gets a lot of advantage there off that play. And this is the problem with white sometimes is, I'm essentially playing so many small dudes that they're pretty easy to board wipe. But thankfully I still have a pretty decent sized hand. So out comes a Gawain, and out comes the second Gawain. Now they're bumping each other up, so they're both 5/9s at this point, which is pretty cool. Goes into his fifth stone, gets that Dark Depths. Sets a standby spell. Looks like he set a Ryza, and then he passes the turn. So he wants to leave up some will to be able to play some burn spells later. Let's play 3. Play Boars, the Returned Adventurer. And in response, I'm going to pump up one of my Gawains. With Boars, I'm going to pump up one of my Gawains. So now that Gawain is a 900 and really, really large, but he just kills it by playing good old Endless Night, which is no bueno. But, hey, something I gotta deal with. And then out comes a Galahad. More life gain triggers there. And then when I pass the turn, Matthew flips over his Rise Up, pays a grand, and sets a standby. Puts the card down stealth. I believe he grabbed Melder there, which is pretty standard. I have to now play this really smart, because if it is a Melder, then I have to try to balance how I kill him. And what I eliminate in order to be able to get all that stuff to go through. So that Melder can't flip and do too much damage when he comes in. Swings in for 8, I just accept it. I've got plenty of life, so taking 800 damage is not a terrible plan here. I'm still over starting life. Puts 2 down, puts down that flame trap. Tap to get a pump for Faria. Now comes out the bow. I'm going to immediately spend it to pop that standby he just played. And get the flame traps. So now I feel pretty good because I'm going to be able to play creatures. At this point I'm going to do Judgment. So Faria's going to trigger and I get to kill his Ryza, get that off the board. She's always pretty nice. I'm going to attempt to move into combat. He tells me to wait. He burns my Gawain for 700 with the Remnant spell. So, a little unfortunate. Galahad's going to swing in and he's going to attempt to Lunar Lake, but he kind of didn't quite understand how it works because Galahad's already been on the field for a turn, so that won't actually work for Galahad. So I'm going to swing in for 4, and then he's going to get life gain me up to 5, and then Faria's going to trigger and he's going to get a counter, so he's actually taking 500 damage there. So now we got the extra counters. Plays the Remnant spell on boards as well, just before he doesn't want to take any extra damage, because that'd be a lot of damage for him to have to be dealing with. And then another Excalibur comes out, and I pass the turn of that. He's reading to make sure he understands exactly how Excalibur works. So I'm feeling okay in this situation. I know that it's not a Melder face down, which makes me feel a little bit better about my odds. But I also am dealing with a very full hand for him and a very not full hand for me. And he has a lot of will open. Sets a standby. Checks his grave here. So he's got 2 Remnant spells in his graveyard. So he makes the smart decision there and just kind of passes for turn. I tap for my double Excaliburs during my upkeep so that Faria can be a massive body. Play another bow. And get that stealth out of there. Pay 3, get another Boars out, which will help pump up my Galahad. In response, he just uses space-time anomaly to kill it, so it won't even get to survive, because unfortunately, it was still just a 5/5. So I'm going to swing in with Faria for 15. Flips over Ryza. He's gonna pay the grand, taking him down to 1,000 or to 1,200. Life Fights will catch up here in a second. He doesn't actually even grab the Melder there. He grabs the Prison in the Lunar Lake, which I think is an interesting decision. And all I can do there is pass the turn at that point. During my upkeep, during his upkeep, he's just gonna burn Boars and get that out of the way. So a note at this point, I am at 0 cards in hand, and he is at a lot. So he plays Gil Lapis, which he's going to search for. He is actually going to search for the Ataraktia. He has those in the deck. He uses it as a way to draw for more draw power and helps to thin the deck out, and everybody loves getting 2-for-1s, right? So play a 3-drop, get 2 cards in your hand, helps you thin out your deck a lot. So... and he grabs Phoenix, which is the worst possible thing for me to be seeing, especially with only 1 creature on the board. Taps for the stone, plays the Ataraktia, gets to draw a card. Plays 2 to play standby, leaving himself with 1 will up. Draw, get my Excalibur taps. Recover. And this is where it actually ends up working out that it's a good thing that he grabbed the Lunar Lake, because I just top decked Lucifer, which if he didn't have that Lunar Lake would probably be the game, or at least pretty close to. But when Lucifer triggers, he just uses Lunar Lake that he set before and kills it. So I have to swing in with Faria. But I have no way to deal with a blocker. I have no way to kill a blocker or anything. And in fact, he just puts out Ryza and then blocks with that instead. I don't really necessarily agree with that call, but with the 12 Apostles he has in his hand and stuff like that, Gale Lapis can shift and do a lot more damage. So that kind of makes sense. We're seeing now. So Gil Lapis is shifting, gets a free shift, and he's actually using shifted. Instead of getting a free thing, he's going to shift Ataraktia. So in response to him using Ataraktia to exile one of my guys, my Excaliburs, I'm just going to tap and banish to pump up my Faria and get free imperishable for the turn. So out comes the Phoenix, which is the worst thing for me to be dealing with. The best thing for me to draw into right now would be Celestial Wing Seraph. I'm at 5 will, I can play it, but I just don't see it, and it feels bad. So I go into combat, he blocks with the Gil Lapis, and out comes the Galahad. The reason why I didn't play Galahad outright is because if he blocked with Phoenix and then... but in this point, I actually would have been fine to play it because you couldn't possibly have blocked with the Phoenix because of the fact that he only had 1 will, so he wouldn't have been able to bring it back. So, but we're starting to get to this point where we're dealing with, if I only have 1 creature on board and he only has 1 Phoenix on board, eventually he will win. He will be able to grind it out. Plays that second Pump the Burn spell. Plays another Ataraktia to get to draw another card. 2 more for a standby. 2 more for another standby, and he passes the turn. flying in the air, but it doesn't matter because Phoenix has flying, so he just dies and then brings it right back. See, this is the problem, like I was saying. He can't really necessarily do damage to me in this situation because of the fact that if he doesn't have a blocker, if he doesn't keep one of those Phoenixes untapped, I'm just gonna be able to fly through and kill him. But at the same time, like, I can't kill him because Phoenix will just always come back. As long as he leaves himself some will open, he won't be able to. So I have to take 9 here, and the only reason why he swings in with the Phoenix is because he has a second one. So I'm in a really bad way here. There's not really much I can do, and he is well secured in what he is going to be able to make happen. So it's not. So even though I have all that life gain, it's not really going to have a massive impact. I'm going to attempt to Percival, but he hasn't put down that. He hasn't put down the Loop Prison and the Lunar Knight that he's got. So I grab the other Percival. The whole reason why I'm doing this is just hoping to draw into something a little bit more powerful to be able to put some creatures out on board and deal with that. With the fact that I'm having the Phoenix. And there's my Celestial Wing Seraph. And I feel really bad about that. I could also grab the Levitine here, but he's not really going to be able to kill my Faria ever. So, but I do grab the Levitine. I think Gawain would have been the much better choice. Because then I would have been able to tap down the Phoenix or something like that if it stayed alive. Then I ended up sacrificing to be able to replay the Percival again, which is fine. I'm just trying to dig for an answer here at this point. Grab the bow, which doesn't really help me much at all either, because those stealths haven't really been doing much for me. And again, so very little influence here. I kind of made the poor choices. If I had grabbed the Gawain, I could have still bounced and grabbed a Levitine there, and I would have had Gawain out on board. So I would have been able to get both. So I would have had 2 Gawains, a Gawain, 2 Percivals, and a Faria. And at that point, even if he's got blockers and stuff, with Percival to be able to protect Gawain, I feel like I can still manage to get a swing in there. But, you know, what do? You make the wrong choices. So he exiled the Levitine, and then I sacked it in response. And then he tries to exile the Excalibur, and I sack it in response. So he swings at me for 9, and then taps for another stone, and just passes the turn. See, again, if I'd had Gawain, I could have swung in with Gawain here at this point. When it goes to my turn, tap down the other Phoenix, and then I'm just fair game, regardless of what he plays. So I'm going to shift for 7. So now he has a second way to RFG cards, which is no good. So I have that Alice of Light, Alice of Shadow that I draw into, deciding whether or not it's worth it to be able to play it. I should have just gone straight into combat here. It would have made more sense. But play the Alice. I'm just attempting to get the life gain here real quick. Pump up the Percivals to make them a little bit more effective. So I do gain the life. Faria trigger happens. And in response, he's trying to do something in response to the Faria trigger. So before stuff is going to gain life, he's actually just going to wipe my board. By playing Endless Night, which will then kill both of those Percivals, which is no good. So in response, I'm gonna just kill a standby. Just because I can. So I still gain the life. Faria still gets an extra counter. But again, I'm back down to no hand, no blockers, or no hand, less than 1 attacker. It doesn't feel good. So he swings in with the Phoenix again, getting that 900 damage, slowly whittling me down. And this is just a battle of attrition at this point. It's essentially, it doesn't matter what I do, unless I can somehow manage to remove that. And so you just see I just draw doing an Excalibur, and I know that I'm just done. So I scoop, and we go into game 2. So game 2, obviously I know that right off the bat that there's a Phoenix possibility. So I need to be able to get like Percival's, and I need to not get too greedy with my creature base, unless they're protected because of Flame Trap. So I'm going to be on the play. Actually ships the Lunar Lake, which is pretty interesting, but he keeps the Flame Trap. So, and that's the problem with Flame Trap in this matchup, is the fact that it's going to be able to, knights need bodies to be able to, make a lot of their pressure work, and Flame Trap just says no. So I grab another Percival there, and pass the turn to him. Calls his first stone. It's not even red, and unfortunately doesn't have any play there, so he has to pass. So draw, recover. Okay, Levitine. Tap your stone. Play a Galahad. Swing in for 200. So, natural kind of knight progression. Again, my goal here is to try to get damage very quickly without overextending, or keeping myself safe. It's that Scorched Bales. Sets a standby and passes the turn. I'm gonna pop it. He tried to bait out that, but it was really smart play. So he plays the Remnant spell in order to bait it out. And so, but I don't really care, because my, with the other Percivals in hand, I'm not terribly worried about a Flame Trap and stuff like that. So I'd rather just have that stealth, whenever it is, just out of the way. So I'm grabbing the Percival here. Again, it's debating between Percival and Boars. I end up grabbing the Boars. I feel like with 2 Percivals, I'm going to be able to do some serious work here. So, gonna see some stuff happen. So, Percival swings in for 4, and then the 6 from Galahad, which also gains me 500 life. So, lots of good damage there right off the bat. And even if he Flame Traps at this point, I'm able to protect Galahad and Gawain, because I have the 2 Percivals. Sets that Flame Trap, so that's coming out next turn. But again, I'm in a position where I'm not too scared of Flame Trap at this point. Attempt to swing in 4, he's gonna Flame Trap. I figured that was coming, and so I banish my 2 Percivals to protect my 2 knights. And with that out of the way, I'm gonna play the Boars, pumping up the Galahad. So swinging for 1,000, and then get the life gain, and then swing in for the 300 there. And then I play the Temple Monk, which gets to gain me even more life. So I gain the 500 from Galahad, and I gain 200 from Temple Monk. The 400 from Temple Monk. So feeling pretty good at this point. Feel pretty secure. I've got a pretty established board. Even with the beat of the Phoenix Wings, nothing really is going to die, except for Temple Monk. So he does play the Beat of the Phoenix Wings. Yep, so everything is going to get hit. So the only thing that gets hit there, that dies there, is the Temple Monk, because of the pumps from Gawain. And then he's going to kill Gawain, which in turn will also kill Galahad, because he'll lose his stat pump. So Boars thankfully survives here, but he's going to take a grand there, and then I just flip it with Swiftness, kill him. So I managed to go faster than he can handle with that one, and so we're going to go into game 3. So hoping for a repeat, even though I'm on the draw, hoping for that kind of smooth opener. With focusing on life gain isn't terribly too important, I'm noticing, with this deck. So, I'm not really worried about trying to get as many life profiteering priests and stuff as always. I just gonna want to go more for the knight package. In different matchups, obviously, that becomes more or less important. And that's why I built the deck kind of the way I did, where it can go for super life gain, and then you can kind of adjust your strategy for games 2 and 3 as needed. Out comes Percival. Seeing that second Percival. Should have grabbed the bow. Saw how good it was last time, but again, double Percival also protects me from what it is anyway, so it's kind of one of those figuring out the trade. Figuring out what's worth it. Percival is definitely there for more protection of the knights, as well as just general card advantage. So he just passes the turn without doing anything. Attempts to play a Galahad. Swing in 2. And then I bounce it back to my hand in response to the burn spell, which again, it's more card advantage for me overall, and wasted burn spell for him. Yes, he does have the remnant, but Percival gets lots of triggers when she just first comes out, so it's pretty good. So he plays that Gil Lapis. Every turn that he taps out is actually pretty good for me, even though he's grabbing the Phoenix, because every turn that he taps out is a turn that I get to generate advantage with my knights. So next turn, I know I'm going to be dropping 2 Percivals. Which is always really nice. So again, protected from things like burns and stuff like that. So out comes Percival number 1. An Apollo, Galahad, Lucifer. So you have to grab Apollo or the Galahad. I grab the Apollo. Again, repeatable stuff is always nice, and making my J Ruler have flying is also very nice. Life Profiteering Priest comes out. And then another Percival. So he doesn't have the Flame Trap at this point, so I'm not terribly too concerned. And I see that Artemis Bow. I could have grabbed the Boars. Thinking about grabbing the Boars or the Artemis. The other thing with the Apollo is that playing the other Percival makes more sense this way, because I can sacrifice one to protect my Galahad, and then bounce the other back to my hand to be able to repeat it and continue to protect my Galahad. So I'm going to swing in and gain 500 with Galahad, swinging in for 4. He goes to block, and I just shoot it with a bow. So that it would be, and I'm going to sacrifice one of my Percivals, the one that came in, to protect Galahad. So regardless of whether or not he pumps up, I get to try to kill his. I get to not lose a creature. I lose Percival, but that's minimal. And I get him to discard in order to prevent his Galapis from dying, I actually get him to discard the Phoenix, which is amazing for me. At this point, I've got good protection for my whole board. I've got repeatable stuff. I've got the bow to be able to answer things. I've got more life gain, and I got rid of the big repeatable heavy hitter that kind of wipes my board out. So feeling pretty good at this point. Even though I haven't done a lot of damage, I'm still whittling away at resources. Out comes the second bow, and I'm just going to go ahead and right away pop the back row, which I get a Prison in the Lunar Lake, which is great for me because now I can start playing other things. Deciding whether or not to play the Galahad or the Alice. I think it would make more sense here for me to play the Galahad. but I don't remember exactly what I do. So I'm gonna actually sacrifice my Percival to Apollo, and then replay the Percival. Says that's fine, but in response to her trigger, he's gonna go ahead and try to kill, and then in response to that, I'm just gonna sacrifice Percival. But then I forget to resolve Percy. Yay! So that would be a gameplay error warning 3, and the Percival effect would immediately go on the chase and resolve, thanks to Stephanie Shaw for pointing that out during the live stream last night. If you guys didn't check it out. We're going to be doing that more often. And then out comes the Alice. So I also don't think I spent the will for Percival there. So I should be tapped out a will. Thankfully, I don't really have any other plays, like one-drop spells or anything, but Alice comes out, Life Profiteering Priest gets me to gain stuff, Fairy Alice, or Alice of Light lets me gain stuff. I attempt to swing in, and I bow to get the Lapis off board, and Percy sacrificed. So there's a lot of triggers that happened in a very short period of time, and but long story short, I've got Alice. Oh, so therein lies my problem, unless I have 5 will. Yeah, that's not good. I should receive a gameplay error warning because I apparently didn't tap for Percival there. Don't do that, kids. Is the problem. It's okay though, because I get punished in Flame Trap, and so I just lose another creature. So everything dies. So, long story short there, he answered it. But if this was a tournament or something and someone noticed that, I'd be in trouble. And that's just because I'm kind of moving a little bit too fast here, and I'll admit that. It was a pretty late night. We were playing this after playing the end of our tournament, and so it was a really fun match, and so we were both kind of on edge and having a lot of fun. So I play the Life Profiteering Priest and the Galahad. He plays the Ryza, pays a Grand of Life to set a standby, and I am back to top deck mode. So not really enjoying that. I know what happened last time. Thankfully, I know that one Phoenix is already dead, so that makes me feel a little bit better, but he does have one Phoenix up there, so therein becomes an issue for later. Pays 2, plays the Adoraktia, gets to draw a card. 2 more. Sets a spell. Looks like it was a Prison in the Lunar Lake. I'm going to pay 4. Do some Judgment action. Get that Ryza off the board. It's really my only way to get Ryza off the board. He's going to Melder in response. But he can't because he doesn't have 2,000 life, so I point that out to him. But in response then, he's going to go ahead and... He's thinking about whether to respond. He decides not to. Says that it's okay. Out comes Faria. Faria's going to get to kill his Ryza because I have the Call to Actions Memoria. Moving into combat, or I play another Life Profiteering Priest first. The reason why I do that is because I want to get her the counter pumps from Faria when I get to gain life. So, but in response to the summon, he's just going to burn the other Life Profiteering Priest, so I won't get the gain. This use of Lunar Lake again. So swing 4. It will actually be 5 because he'll gain me 100 life. Faria will trigger and he'll get a counter. So down to 23, up to 75. Draws into turn. Covers everything, so I know both of his standbys are at this point. It's a Lunar Lake, Prison in the Lunar Lake, and a Melder. Melder is less important because I mean he is important, don't get me wrong, but with fewer Stealth Resonators, with just one Melder, it's not nearly as impressive as having double Melder or something like that. And a Lunar Lake is definitely more of a problem. So he just passes the turn. Actually, I'm going to tap to get in response to the tap of Excalibur. He's actually going to play 1 Space-Time Anomaly, play 2 Space-Time Anomalies, and in response to the third one he casts from Grave, I'm going to sacrifice to get the Imperishable from from Excalibur. So I got the counters on with Faria. Or I have the counters already. I'm deciding whether or not to do Judgment or not before I start swinging in. Play the Excalibur to be safe because I want to be able to protect it. And then out comes that. I decide to not kill anything with it because it says you may destroy up to one target resonator your opponent controls. He doesn't control any, so I don't have to kill anything. So I'm at risk here because I know I'm going to be pushing him into Melder range, but I'm okay with it. So I gain 500, and then which will pump up all my guys, and then he'll take 600, putting him down to 17. Out comes out the Melder at the end, now that he can. He gives -4/-4 to the Life Profiteering Priest, who at this point is too big. She's a 2/4, right? So she's now a 4/6. The Melder attempts to try to swing here. I start to block with that, but then I actually go, wait a minute, that's stupid. And I block with Faria instead. It doesn't make sense to block with the Life Profiteering. I'll just use Faria. And then he, in response, he's going to use the Space-Time Anomaly, and in response to that, I'm going to attempt to give myself some Imperishable with the taps, because her name is technically Faria, so she'll get Imperishable just for being Faria by tapping Excalibur. Then he's going to go ahead and just kill the Galhead outright. Has to spend a Space-Time Anomaly on it to actually kill it. Or double Remnant it to kill it. Because it's a 6/6. Then he chooses to spend his last 2 will to set a standby. And I top deck. And I have to play this incredibly smooth here. So I decide to go to combat first, and you'll see what I top deck here in a second. So I swing in for 4, lets that go through, hits the 13. So then I play Levitine, and I Judgment for 4. Faria gets to kill Melder, and then I swing in. And in response to no blocks, I get to tap and finish the game off. So excellent match. We both had a ton of fun with this. Let me know what you guys thought. Deck list will be up on Thursday and then on Saturday for the features. Go ahead and check out my new end slate, guys. As you can see here, there is some new stuff for you to look on. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Click on that subscribe button. You can click on the last video right over here to go check out my previous video talking about the spoiler articles, and go support the channel on Patreon. But until next time, guys, this is DMO73 signing off.